taking another look at the Hoover Dam here. I was expecting something to happen with it on September 30th because of the 9-3 numbers that are in this dam having to do with its birth. So here we have a 9-3, and then here we have a 10, and this is the UN number, or the I. Well, so I was looking at this again, and I want to, I have some kind of strange details, but some of them. Let's start with the ones that make sense the most. So 9:30. Let's take a look at 9:30. Hold on the drag this over on the Gregorian calendar. If the 9:30 was on the Julian calendar, then the Gregorian date for this would be October 13th, which would be a 10/13. So before we get to that, I want to show you some weird numbers, but also, say we're like right here, this is a 1013 right here. And this is the beginning of the construction by 6 Companies, Inc. So, but before that, I want to just look at just the weird numbers, just straight up. So this, the coordinates, we have a 9, see the 3, 6, and this is the seed of life number. And then we have an 11, which is, this is not just any 9 and not just any 11. It's a seed of life 9, and this is the ratio between phi and pi 11. So, there might be some algorithm where you're supposed to take this fraction and multiply it times things. And I'll try that. But anyway, so this is a 9-11 right here in the north. And north is a 14. And 14 is going to be the slave number we're going to try to remember, because that if you anti-root that, the most obvious anti-root of it right now is 95 and 59, which are slave numbers, slave code. So then here in the west we have 114 and 44, so we sort of have a double of an 11 and a 44, but also we have the elect number plus the 7. This 7 by the west, it makes a difference because it's right next to the 4, which makes a 7-11, but also its proximity to it makes a 74 and a 47. And the 74 are, it's kind of celebration numbers for the Bavarian Illuminati, I think. I think that's how you could kind of summarize that. So, most people would have to agree that these are some strange numbers. Also, I was reading last night in Pi in the Alphabet about what the Menorah code reveals about symbolism for the Illuminati, what it reveals, what's important to them, and mouths are important to them. And I hadn't thought of this before, but some of the things that I found, like the Benjamin Parkway that points to where the river, Manitoba Legislative Center, where there's an owl, but there's a river that comes down through that, and it points to the mouth of that river, or the start of it. Actually, I'm not sure exactly what they mean by a mouth, but I'm not sure if this would count as a mouth here on this area here. But the starts of rivers are very important, and I didn't realize how important rivers were, but that gematria reveals how important rivers are. River in Menorah gematria is 55555, which is the sacred pentacle number for them, and it's just so any word that's a 5555, straight fives, you kind of have to pay attention to, according to Marty Leeds. So I just read that last night, and I was thinking about, wow, okay, well that makes sense because Buckingham Palace has the word mouth in it. That's what Bucca means. It's the mouth of the goblin. And so I wanted to tell you guys that so we could start paying attention to mouth ideas. We know that God equals 26 and eat equals 26, and there's a lot of eating and Garden of Eden, but garden, the etymology of that ties it to a place where you enclose food that you later wish to cook. And there's a lot of Abraham being the father of the hams implies that, the straight up etymology of that is, it's not just referring to pigs, it's referring to edible pigs and humans, the hindquarters. So we do need to pay attention to mouth and rivers. Now, rivers are important to them because they represent a flow, and especially, we know that we have sacred rivers all over the world, and especially when the river is flowing north, they consider that to be especially sacred. This one's not flowing north, but I just didn't consider that. So, some more symbolism that we need to pay attention to. So I'm just going to show you some of these 9-3s, just so that you know why I was thinking that the 9-3 really matters, and we've seen the 9-3 really active in 9/11. Also, let me show you the gematria of just a Hoover Dam. That's right. Let me grab it for you. So you probably knew this was a gateway number. I was looking up all the gateway numbers because now I forget, but there was a gateway number that popped up in a weird place. And so I was looking up all the gateway numbers again. But this date right here turns out to be October 10th, which is a 1010. And we know that the 110 is the Rockefeller number, and we know that has to do with 9/11. So a 1010 number would be related to this number, and it could be related to a date. So it could be, we could be looking at a 1013 date or a 1010 date, or just that these numbers are important. So 86, let's just scroll down here. 86 is very important to our study. The Philosopher's Stone. Is about immortality. I mean, this is really in a nutshell. There's so much to know there, but look at the Philosopher's Stone numbers. This date is the date for this. The 266th day is 9/23, but if that date is in the Julian calendar and then you convert to the Gregorian, it's October 6th again. So we just want to keep an eye on these dates and see if we can find clues. I would love to be able to develop the code enough to a point where we're not just saying, okay, all these numbers match, that we could say, it's going to be on this date, or it's going to be on this date, and it's going to come from this direction, or something like that. So this 606 number does show up down here in the width, the 660. They just inverted. It's just an anagram, I think is what you call that. So in taking another look at the dam, I wanted to take another look back at this episode that has to do with the dam breaking, because this episode has a picture where the dam breaks, and then a few seconds later a bridge goes out. And I don't know how many dams have bridges exactly downriver for them, or how many dams are really in the collective consciousness like this. This number of the episode here that they post here is not right. I counted this. Let's see, what did I come up with? So it's 158. Is the correct number over here, which would be a 113, or a Freemason number, or one of these type of numbers, like it would be the Fukushima number of 311, or the Freedom Tower number of 113. Over here there's a 7 and a 6. Sorry, the 7 is in the middle. 7. So it's a 474. This is going to come up later. I'm going to show you something about these numbers the 7-4s come up later. Now, another reason why this episode caught my eye in the first place, why I first worked on it a while ago, is the 223 aspect of it here in 1997, which is a 16. So if you find out the number of this date, it would be you'd put a 2 and a 5 and a 16, which adds up to a 23. And that number is one of the numbers that we're a little bit concerned about right now, and it does equal 106. For the 923 equals a 10-6. We've seen a lot of 106 lately. Now, if they're going to be wrong about the episode, that's an interesting episode number to put on here. It's almost as if they wish to show that to you. So because I've found a lot of date placement code already in Simpsons episodes, I decided to look at this, of course. Also that this equals a 23. And look at how it equals, let me scroll down. It's 1661 which would be a 7-7, but I think it's frightening enough how it is. A 60. It's just unusual that would be the amount of days in between here. Now, obviously, nothing happened, so this Hoover Dam episode didn't predict the Twin Towers, but it looks like it was kind of like chained to it. Like, I think of in the Hoover Dam also has 9/11 numbers right in it, plus and 23 numbers. So it, and since it's a river, I would, if I would think about, since I learned about them thinking that rivers are sacred, I would think that they would use a river in a magical way, like you would use the movement of it, like, how we harness a river for electricity, they would harness a river for maybe magic, like, every water molecule that goes through adds to their magic ritual or something like that. And that's why they would use a dam or a river or, bridges in part of their ritual. So even if it doesn't predict, even if date connections don't really predict, that this is predicting that something's going to happen on these days, or that nothing really happens to this dam on that day, it still means that it's almost like this dam is yoked. It's like an ox, and it's yoked for their magic here. So it's just hard for us as normal human beings to think of these kind of things, but I'm starting to try to picture, if these numbers aren't actually predicting dates, what are they doing? Why are they here? So this is another kind of a strange diameter of time, and this would be between the date of this episode and 10/6, this episode having to do with the dam. Well, let's try the 10. It occurs to me that instead of building, video games and such, we should be building calculators to scan the internet, notice date patterns, and look for certain patterns. And then when there's something suspicious, like I feel like I've noticed patterns in these Simpson episodes, and there has to be tons of patterns in television, and then it would alert a human to a pattern, and maybe then we could build another program to isolate more patterns and just learn how to do this. I know they have computers, so we should make computers. This one was a little strange because we've seen the 68s a lot, and then on this day we have this 9 as well. So this would be a 14. We've seen 68s and 14s. Okay, so 68 is another anti-root of a 14 that would be very important. 68 is the stock and the market, and stock market has the Bride of Christ 816 number. So down here in the percentage there is a 618 or an 816. So, and there's an 84 having to do with Obama. Now, Casey at Enter the Stars has a nice video about Obama coming to the Hoover Dam and facing in a 44, I believe it was a 44-degree heading through the center of the dam, and then he found according to his work that that if you follow that line all the way out, it goes to Hawaii, Kenya. So there would be Obama tie-ins here. So continuing with the 816 tie-in, this is season 8, episode 16, which is the Bride of Christ number, the 816 number that's on the Georgia Guidestones. It was on the key, this twin skeletons below the dam. I'm going to go to that news story, either in this, if I do another video, maybe in this one or maybe in the next one, and look at the geometry on that. But there's definitely a Bride of Christ tie-in here, or an 816, which is the reverse of 618, which are the first 3 digits after Phi, and we know that they worship Phi, golden mean. I was listening to Dan Winter this morning, and I was remembering that golden mean, fractal, he says golden mean fractal implosion is what infinite non-destructive golden mean fractal implosion is his definition of gravity. So that's better than what my teachers in school taught me. So I was going to tell you, I started studying the Hoover Dam again because Zachary K. Hubbard talked about in a recent video a documentary, I believe it's a documentary called 33 Minutes, which has to do with all the hell that could break loose in the first 33 minutes of an EMP. And I gematria that name of that documentary, and it matches the Hoover Dam. And not only that, but it has this 474, which matches this episode. See? Because the F is a 6, so that's a 474. So I was scrolling down here looking at all the 101s and the 606s, and then I was thinking, what if they are tying this together, because we know they like the 106s, and they're multiplying this gematria, the simple gematria, times a 6 to get to the English gematria. What if there's a code that bridges across these things? You know, I'm going to need another brain. One brain is not enough. So division is a 911. So then I was looking at these, thinking, I wonder if there's more codes in here. You know, we're dealing with Russia right now, or they're dealing with us. Dinosaur. That shares the complete gematria. Let me see here. It shares the complete gematria with this up here above. That's pretty rare. So I'll add this, and then those two will show up at least. Oh, and let there be light. No, let there be light doesn't match. But this one is a full match. Let's see if it shows up now. Come on. Sorry, my computer's all glitchy. But it didn't have it show up yet. But minutes, interesting. Oh, maybe they don't count the numbers when you put it in there. Enterprise. So many things. I mean, I know that sometimes I rush through here. Sometimes I feel like you should just really go slow and look at these things, and something's going to pop out at you. So the top quote they have here is "Maniac to live in brother's apartment," and that has the diameter of time for a zodiac age, and the 360 36. It's the same as the. Hold on, it's the same as the Hoover Dam. Hold on, where'd it go? So they have the coordinate of the Hoover Dam, or the north coordinate of the Hoover Dam, right there in this title here of this episode. That's about the Hoover Dam, or it's about a hydroelectric dam that's just like the Hoover Dam. So the idea here is we have two brothers. Now, we know that in our world we're always playing the dark and the light, and Cecil here would be the light brother, and Sideshow Bob would be the dark brother. Cecil has this Argyle pattern on his shirt, and I keep meaning to tell you about Argyle patterns. They're really, really amazing, and I'm going to have to do a Back to the Books on with Pi in the Alphabet to show you that. Cecil's supposed to be the good brother, but anyway, he's the one who's behind wrecking the dam, and this, so they're doing a full reversal, so it's really a yin and yang symbol here with these two brothers. They reverse roles. So it's interesting that Cecil is the good brother who turns bad, and he matches Jesus Christ in the Jewish gematria. And it's interesting that this is the other gematria for Jesus Christ. And Sideshow Bob is the bad. So do you see, so Sideshow Bob is the bad brother. Oh my gosh. And he has the 33s. See? The 33 and the 33. And the righteousness of the 12. See that? So it's almost like it's the classic, they're placing themselves as the hero in this story, like he's been framed. Of course, he fully admits to trying to kill Bart and all the bad stuff that he did, and it matches witchcraft and raving lunatic. The Antichrist. So he's the Antichrist, and Cecil is the Christ character. I mean, they really coded it like this. Sideshow Bob is Revelation. John Lennon's in here. So the title of this, Brother from Another Series. So they're basically saying the Christ and the Antichrist are brothers from another series. These guys are actually brothers in you know, in this show, except for that here they are played by Kelsey Grammer and David Hyde, which are play brothers in another show. So he plays the David Hyde. He has the David Hyde. I think they have the voices. But if you look at this, Brother from Another Series kind of has a 10. It has a 109, or you could say a 106 in the Jewish gematria, and then it would have a 924, which this date right here would equal a 107. It's just like one day off from this date. You know, see, like if this was a if this was upside down, right? Anyway, it's interesting that it has this date. Well, this date would be straight on the calculator, as if this was the Julian converted back to the Gregorian, would be 107. So to familiarize ourselves with the 106 just a little bit more, I guess this is an archangel, Metatron. I think that any name with Tron in it implies that there's technology involved that we don't understand. Fox News has this number 106, soulmate, nuclear bomb. There's some that I found that I wrote down that I don't think are in here. Heil Hitler, this can't be a mistake. Now this is a double H, and I guess my brain's getting better at this because I noticed something back here. Let's see. So here's the double H. You're going to be like, oh, I don't know. She might have been doing code too long, but go ahead. I mean, this is a pi. This is a power symbol. 17 equals Q. 17 is H plus I, which is Hawaii, which is the Greek writing of pi. They do worship pi. 17 is missing in the phi number of 1.618. There's a 16 and an 18. It's missing a 17. So I believe that they symbolically see that this is a power symbol. It gives them a right to interrupt destiny. It gives them a right to say, come to another planet and basically do whatever the heck they want. And I think that's what's going on here. Then we have an 8-8. So this might be a Heil Hitler tie-in here. I don't know. Just noticing the 8-8. Now, of course, the Nazis took the 8-8 and they made it really sinister. But before that, it was a Christ number for the Cathars. And we have to always think about our symbols as that they've all been twisted and dirtied, and you have to take them back as far as you can to recover the original meaning. So going back to the Julian from September 30th, which I feel is a very strong Hoover down date, and realizing that that's October 13th on the Gregorian calendar, then when we look at the distance in time between this episode that's about the Hoover Dam and this Gregorian date of October 13th, we notice that we have 6806 numbers again. And these are very kind of ominous sort of numbers, because they come up so often in just, you know, events that we don't want to see usually. So I also want to point out that rivers might be sacred to them. They might yoke that for ritual purpose, but also money would be a currency, right? It'd be a river, a flow. There would be a flow there where they would yoke that, and that's why they have all their ritualistic symbolism on the money, and there's a flow and a currency of that. So it's really interesting when you try to start to understand what they're using. You know how Buddhist prayer flags, they use the wind flap to like amplify the prayer because it's motion. Well, you wouldn't really call that as much dark energy as much as you would say that it's more like intention on that prayer. It's almost like every time you say a prayer, you're putting motion into it by your breath and your lips. Well, you are putting motion. You can yoke a prayer with water, you know, in the river, or a currency. So it's I just kind of starting to realize what might be going on behind this. So even if we don't nail a date, at least we're learning more of their symbolism. So we saw the 212 in Sideshow Bob, and that's also in Revelations here. And then I was looking at this in terms of a date to see what was here. Now we should be pointing out that Sideshow Bob was a clown, right? he became a clown successfully. So anyway, that matches this date of 1013, which would, be the counterpart to 930, September 30th. This makes me wonder if there's going to be some Facebook clues, if we can use that for some clues. This is a 9-9. Maybe there'll be an awakening on this day and everyone will wake up and they won't believe the news anymore and they'll stop voting and we'll find another way to put everybody in jail who needs to go to jail and we'll correct everything. Happiness, right? That'd be a nice thing to see happen. So interestingly enough, a concrete arch gravity dam does have, oops, wrong tab. Where did I put it? Right here, sorry. Does match Philosopher's Stone and Jesus Christ and JFK. And JFK made some warnings that are tied in numerically. On 10/6, 1961, Zachary K. Hubbard uncovered this, that JFK made a warning that everybody should have a bomb shelter. And then also, I showed you that nuclear bomb ties into the date that he made that warning. Well, in the English gematria, I thought I saw something down here I was going to show you. I think it's the same thing, Lord Jesus Christ. It's just unusual that the way, the wording that they have ties back into these things, and it also ties to the gematria of this. So the summer of 1931, daytime highs were averaging 119 degrees, 0.9 Fahrenheit. 16 workers and other riverbank residents died of heat prostration between these days. So I was going to show you the total number that died on this build, and they did knowingly endanger workers. And then they said that it was pneumonia. They made them work. Here, I'll find it for you. So there were 113. Looks like there was 113 deaths because there was 12 associated. The first one was a father, and the last one was a son. Okay, so there was another one to die here that wasn't in this number when I read it before. Let me make sure I'm right about this whole. So we saw the number 96 in some of the gematria. 96 of the deaths occurred during construction on the site. Of the 112 fatalities, 91 were 6 company employees. Not included in the official fatality numbers were deaths recorded as pneumonia, which was basically carbon monoxide poisoning, which they avoided compensation for by saying that it was pneumonia. But I need to find, maybe it is 112 total deaths, official deaths here. The first one was a father, and the last man to die 13 years later to the day was his son, to the day. So here's the gematria of the father. Now the date that we're looking at, 930, equals 1013 when you convert it to the Gregorian. And I believe this is the right amount of the deaths. I think I read this before, and I'm kind of blanking on why I thought there was one more than that top number. If you did add the 42 workers who died of pneumonia to this, it's 154, which would be a 9-1, which is interesting because that's reflexive of 91 of those were 6 companies. You see all the 9s and the 6s? This is kind of like another 121 number. So this section talks about surrounding the base of the monument is a terrazzo floor embedded with a star map. And they only put a tiny picture here. There's other pictures though on the internet. And there are 30 foot or 91. There's another 91 number here. High bronze figures dubbed winged figures of the Republic were each formed in a continuous pour. To put such large bronzes in place without marring the highly polished bronze surface, they were placed on ice and guided into position as the ice melted. It says, all right, I don't think that has anything to do with it. Well, anyway, let's look at this. I just wanted to show you this gematria of the winged figures of the Republic. And I do want to show you the pictures of those. Probably you've seen them already though, but there's a 9/11 again here too. So I want to see what 9/11 straight up to this conversion is. Oh yeah, I forgot. September 24th. Okay, and so then September 24th is October 7th. All right, well, I'm going to keep taking a look at these numbers, and if I find more things, I'll bring it to you. This will be a part one if I find a part two, otherwise it'll just be standalone. All right, love you guys. Talk to you later.